Hey everybody, this is Deb with Truthification Chronicles, and this is a video on Pete Buttigieg, who is currently the mayor of South Bend, Indiana, which you may know it better as Notre Dame, Indiana, because that's where Notre Dame University is located. And in fact, his mother and father both worked at Notre Dame, and his father, I believe, was an English professor, and he was originally from Malta. So not from the United States originally, but he did become a citizen in 1979, I believe. Anyway, I'm not going to read this article to you because obviously you can go ahead and read it for yourself, but there were a few things I want to point out to you. This is not just your average, ordinary Hoosier, okay? This guy is a graduate of Harvard University, a Rhodes Scholar, and he is a veteran of the war in Afghanistan. He actually, while he was mayor of South Bend, had to take 7 months off and go to Afghanistan as part of his reserve deployment. So, interesting. I'm not sure that's typical for most mayors, but that's what he did. So, he is really trying to put his name in there and become one of the Democrat candidates for president. So he is the first openly gay Democratic candidate ever to run for president of the United States. Actually, he's the first openly gay candidate ever to run for the president of the United States. So kind of interesting on that. He did try to become Indiana State Treasurer and failed. And he wrote a book, and he tried to be, the 2017, he tried to be the DNC chair of the entire Democratic National Committee, and that didn't work either. So now he's trying for president. Yeah, anyway. So very interesting. His father, I didn't see much about his father. He just passed away at the end of January of 2019. And I saw one book that he wrote or an article that was about a book that he wrote, and it was published in some kind of socialist journal. I thought that was kind of interesting. But yeah, Buttigieg, he is really into the whole Democrat Party AOC stuff, okay? Maybe not as crazy as she is, because he actually is very smart and he knows something about economics, and he has been pro-business, so he's been very good for businesses in South Bend. However, he still is very much this whole progressive thing about socialism and, free this, free that, whatever. So he definitely has some drawbacks. Anyway, this was the article that I showed you in the last video, and I just wanted to point this out again. If you haven't seen the video itself of what he had to say about Pence, it's right there. And notice what it says. He wins stellar reviews at CNN Town Hall. Now, in the mainstream media, this guy is getting all kinds of great publicity. They're saying, hey, he's really doing a good job. Get ready for Pete Buttigieg. And down here, of course, that comment won him a lot of points in the left. I'm not going to say it, but And he raises $600,000 in 24 hours because of his little appearance on CNN. And yeah, so what does he want to do? Well, let's look into some of the things he wants to do. First of all, he wants to end the electoral college. This is a very popular thing right now with the Democrats, especially since they keep touting that Hillary Clinton won the popular vote, and so they think she's the rightful president of the United States. That's what they're trying to promote, that if you get rid of the electoral college, then it will be a popular vote. Well, for people who come from a state like mine, Indiana, we really need the electoral college because it keeps those big population centers from bullying us and from doing things that we don't necessarily want. And I'm sure all of you have seen that map of the United States when it shows which precincts went red and which ones went blue for the 2016 election. Almost the entire country is red except for those big population areas. And it's hardly fair for those people to be running everything else, because what may work in California isn't going to work in Indiana. I mean, we are different cultures almost, even though we're all Americans, and we do have the commonality of being Americans. There's still quite a cultural difference between Indiana and California. I have a friend who got married to a guy from California. She went out there to live, and she went through kind of a culture shock while she was making the transition, because things are different in different parts of the United States. And so that's one of the things he wants to do, and that is becoming a big push. They're really trying to do that so that they can swing the election, because, of course, you know that they can stack the deck when it comes to popular vote. They can put in people, you know, the illegals. They're trying to get them in so they can vote. And we know that there have been dead people who have voted before. And some people have voted more than once. One lady, if I recall correctly, one lady in Ohio voted 6 times for Obama. Yeah. I think she actually did get caught, and she was put in prison for that. Anyway, they also want to add more seats to the Supreme Court. Why? Because Trump is getting to nominate lots of conservatives. Yep. And before he's out of office, we know he's going to get Ruth Bader Ginsburg's seat. He's going to be able to do that. And it's very possible there's talk of Clarence Thomas possibly resigning while Trump is in office, so that Trump can replace him with someone much younger and make sure that that's a very strong conservative too. So that's what they want to do. They want to make it so that they have more seats so they can get some of their own people in there. And really what they want, from what I've been able to read, they want 5 justices that have been appointed by the Democrats, 5 justices that have been appointed by the Republicans, and then the 5 others will be appointed by the justices on the court themselves. So, I don't know. With the way things are going and with the way Robert's been controlled, I don't want to see that, because I don't trust him at all. He has voted far too many times with the liberals instead of the Constitution, and that bothers me immensely. And of course, Buttigieg is young enough that he wants to become America's youngest president. So he was 29 when he became mayor of South Bend, and I think he's 36 now, something like that. So yeah, that's what he wants. And, he actually is a fairly personable guy. So he does have at least a personality, and he's been making the rounds. He wrote a book. Of course, he's out, trying to sell his book, all these big things that he's been going on. 37-year-old, there he is. And he was also a Navy intelligence. He was in Navy intelligence. So I think that's very significant too. So this is an article. Like always, the articles will be down below so you can see them for yourself. But this guy right here has talked to Mayor Pete, is what a lot of people call him, so they don't have to say his last name. But he's talked to him many, many times. His name's Casey Hendrickson, and he does the local talk radio, which is conservative talk radio. And so he also does it on YouTube, and he does, I think, Facebook as well. I'm not sure. But anyway, so he does about 3-hour thing, and you can see this is 3 hours long. But if you go to the end of it, the last 10 minutes of it, about 250 in, somewhere around 250, he makes a few comments about Buttigieg. So I want to play those comments for you. I will put the link to the whole thing down below if you want to listen to the whole thing, but it's 3 hours long. I just kind of usually put him on while I'm, going around town and doing my errands and things. So I get a chance to listen to him every so often. And it's kind of fun once in a while to come in and, participate in the live chat that he has going on while he's talking. So anyway, this is Casey Hendrickson. And like I said, he knows Mayor Pete. They've actually sparred a few times. And Pete Buttigieg has been on this particular show several times. And they're not always amicable, okay? I don't think Pete's real fond of Casey here. But anyway, Casey's very conservative, and of course, Pete is not. So let me play his comments, and then I'll come back.
Trump's not going to give him a nickname until he's relevant. Now, that doesn't mean that he won't be picked as a running mate or a cabinet member or something like that from somebody else. And he still has time to turn this around, but the way that he's running this campaign right now, it's a mess. It's an absolute mess. It's very amateuristic. All right, so Mayor Pete's struggling to find a legitimate campaign here. He doesn't have one. Okay, he's just kind of running around, and the media has pigeonholed him as the guy from Indiana who's gay, who's going to attack the vice president. That's where he's at right now. He needs a campaign. He doesn't have a campaign at this point. Last night was a dismal failure for him, but there's still time. There's still time. We're taking some of your reactions to that. Derek, welcome to the program.
Yeah, I'm glad you're talking about this. It was eating me up all day.
Okay. Well, what's your thoughts?
It irritates me the fact that I was told that those without sin cast the first stone.
Mm-hmm.
And we all have sin, and also you don't need those stones if you live in glass houses.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't understand why a Christian belief is so offensive to people who believe in not to believe in God, but those who do believe in God offends them, and it's irritating that the fact that you believe what you want to believe, and I believe what I want to believe, but now it's getting to the point that when you believe in something that they don't believe, it's offensive, and they have to attack you for it.
Well, just from a strategy standpoint too, Buttigieg is putting himself in a place where he is going to now put his faith against Mike Pence's faith. And you're not going to win that battle with the evangelical vote. You're not going to win it.
Right. And I'm not a real big supporter of Pete Buttigieg, but I don't think it's fair to put him in that position at all.
Well, but see, this is what the media has done. So the media has decided that Pete Buttigieg is not going to win this thing. And so what they're going to do is they're going to get some cheap thrills. They're going to put him on primetime, and they're going to have him attack the vice president. They're going to pick apart the vice president. Vice president's under attack in the media right now. And that's really his role. And what's happening is he's allowing them to do it. His response to that question should have been, Mike Pence isn't the president. I'm here to talk about the president. And, that's what his response, but he allowed himself to be baited into a my faith versus Mike Pence's faith in primetime television. And he also refused to really provide his name so people could understand what he was talking. It was a very awkward 40 minutes. I think about 42 minutes, something like that. But you're right. It's not right for CNN to put him in that position, but CNN chose to do that because that's what they pigeonholed him as.
Because it didn't surprise me, it's CNN.
No, yeah, it is CNN. And maybe Buttigieg was a little bit, maybe he wasn't on the defensive because he just figured out it's a safe space and they're not going to go after me so I can be, myself or whatever. But he's running this campaign as if he were running for mayor in a small town. That's not going to work. This has been the big question was, can he fight? He's never had to fight. Can he fight?
There's a lot of people on the left and the media that I believe are somewhat more scared of him than they are of Trump.
The thing is, if Pete Buttigieg, if he can get to some notoriety, if this weren't such a crowded field, maybe he would have a shot. But if he can get some notoriety, this is a guy who is electable, but he's got to get past this initial hurdle. And right now, he's not doing a good job of it. I don't know that there's people. I would say that the Clinton wing is afraid of him. I would say that the Bernie wing would embrace him because he's much more aligned with the Bernie camp than he is with the Clinton camp. He is a socialist. He's pro-socialist policies. And for the most part, recently, he has been supportive of Cortez's policies.
So I really agree with what Casey is saying. I think that probably Buttigieg is being used as a pawn. I think so. I mean, they're giving him a lot of hype right now, but I don't think he has a chance at all in becoming the actual candidate or even making it to the major debates. I mean, they just really are using him to sensationalize things, especially against Mike Pence. And I think that's what he's been brought in for. I mean, he's the perfect person to attack Pence. And one of the major reasons why he doesn't like Pence is because Pence, because of his Christian beliefs, his conservative Christian beliefs, believes that homosexuality is a sin, just like many Bible-believing Christians do. And we're not saying it's worse than any other sin or whatever, but it's still a sin. And it's not a lifestyle that a Christian should be participating in. So just like everything else, I mean, people can disagree with a lifestyle and not hate the person. Parents do this all the time. They can disagree with their children and what their children are doing. It doesn't mean they stop loving their children. They still love them, even though the child isn't doing what the parent thinks is right. And so that's kind of the situation. I can look at somebody who is living in a homosexual lifestyle and I can disapprove of what they're doing, but it doesn't mean I don't care for them. In fact, my ex-brother-in-law was homosexual, so I really do understand the situation, and it doesn't mean that I cared any less for him, and I prayed for him a lot. Just because Mike Pence disagrees with that lifestyle doesn't mean that, he's looking down his nose or anything at Buttigieg or anyone else in the state. Well, when Mike Pence was governor of Indiana, he helped get a law passed that was to help freedom of religion so that if somebody came into your establishment, like say a baker, and they wanted you to bake a cake to cater for a gay wedding, you would not be forced to do that if your religious beliefs did not believe in that. I mean, you would have to serve them otherwise, and that was no problem, but not that specific thing, participating in like the wedding things. And that's what the law was for. Well, it caused a big stink and everything, and that's what Buttigieg really stuck in his craw, and that's why he really doesn't like Mike Pence. Because, of course, Buttigieg is gay, and he's, quote, married, unquote. So, anyway, I just wanted to share that with you, and like I said, I'll put the link down below. You can listen to the whole thing if you want to, but that's pretty much where he talked about Buttigieg. And so I just wanted to point out that typically somebody who was a mayor of a particular city, and South Bend is about probably 100,000-ish. I mean, a little bit bigger than that, maybe. But it's not huge in comparison to maybe Indianapolis or Chicago or something like that. But it is pretty good size for around here. And it does have, a quite diverse population as well. But with Buttigieg, the thing is, if you look at this map of Indiana, this is the 2016 election. This is how Indiana voted in the presidential election. This up here is St. Joseph County, which is where South Bend, Indiana is. As you can see, it's blue. And I will tell you that in that election, Trump only lost by about 200 or so votes, maybe 225 or something like that. Not very much at all. The margin was very slim. Over here is Lake County. It's very close to Chicago. Down here is Indianapolis. This is Bloomington, where you have Indiana University. So that's the 4 counties that did not go for Trump. Everybody else did. Now, see, typically somebody who's a mayor would want to kind of work their way up to president a little bit, have a little more experience in there. Well, he can't really try to be governor. I mean, he could try to run for governor of Indiana, but he's not going to make it. I mean, look at this. These people are not going to vote for him, okay? It just isn't going to happen. Now, of course, he won in blue St. Joseph County because it's blue. That's what it always votes. It always votes that way. So I think they could run Mickey Mouse. And in fact, the guy they're putting out right now, he's having problems. He was convicted of some crime. And so he's in the process of like an arraignment or something, some kind of indictment going on with him. And so, and he's not the only one. I mean, obviously there's more running than that, but this one is, this is what they get. And they will vote Democrat again, even though the city has a lot of problems. But let me show you how South Bend stacks up to everybody else. If you look at this, see how dangerous South Bend, Indiana is compared to the nearest cities. Well, here are the other cities. Mishawaka is kind of like a sister city to South Bend, although it's smaller. And you can see that it has a lot less crime. Niles is up in Michigan, just across the state line. Buchanan also. North Liberty is a fairly small town. I'm not real sure. It's definitely not near the size of South Bend. Elkhart's been having a lot of problems, and as you can see, it's even worse than South Bend right now. And Bremen is a smaller town. These are really smaller towns here. But you can see that South Bend is quite a lot more crime than these other places, except for Elkhart. And if you look here, this says higher than 95.8% U.S. cities. That's pretty intensive, right? That's a lot of crime. Now, I'm not going to show you some of these charts because when I try to bump them up, they cut off parts and it's harder to see, but let me go down to this. So, the murders per 100,000 population. Check this out. Here's where Pete started becoming mayor. He became mayor this year. So things started, went down the next year, but then it was back up, and it's pretty much higher than it was here when he wasn't the mayor. And then you have, this is the rapes, and here's where Pete came in. That was his first year, and there we go again. Kinda not that much great. Now, as for the robberies, this is robberies. This is assaults, except for this last year. He wasn't doing too bad there. Burglaries were down, and thefts are down. And so he did pretty well on some of those. Auto thefts kind of went up last year. And arson, 2016, I should say. That's 2016, not last year. Anyway, so yeah, it's kind of been going up and down, and I understand that, but the murders and the rapes have gone up since he was elected. So is it safer now? No. And about one of the major things that he really did was he took, they had all of these streets that, maybe 10, 15 years ago, they made one-way streets because the flow of traffic was difficult, a lot of, traffic jams and stuff. And so they wanted to ease the flow of traffic. So they made all these north-south one-way streets so the traffic would flow better, I guess. So, he decided that it was time to put them back into two-way streets. So the place was torn up for 2-3 years, I think. The streets were a mess. It was hard getting through. I hated going there because it was like, no, construction. And you had to wait in lines and it just was bad. Things were blocked off and, and now it's back to two-way streets. Well, it's kind of hard, old dogs and new tricks. And when you're driving and you've been used to that particular street being a one-way street to the north, it's really hard to get used to it now being two-way traffic. And same thing with the south, they had just the main drags. It really was just the north and the south main drag. And so just having that, it's just confusing, okay? For old people like me, it's confusing. And I'm sure for some reason he thought that was a good thing. I just think it was a waste of money. I'm not sure they needed to do it in the first place, but they did. So why put it back? That took a lot of money to do that, to put everything back to two-lane traffic again. I don't know, but that's my opinion on that one. It was just something, yeah. But yeah, if Pete wants to run for governor, he's going to have trouble. Okay? He's not going to make it. And I don't think he would make it as a senator because we just got rid of our Democrat senator, Joe Donnelly. Yay, rah. Oh, I'm so glad. You know, Joe Donnelly started out as a centrist, and he was a Catholic, and he actually did follow Catholic values when he was in the House of Representatives, but corruption got hold of him pretty fast. And when he became a senator, he was gone. I mean, there were still a few times when he voted with the Republicans, but very few when he became a senator, hardly at all. And he was one of those swing votes that I was really hoping would make it for Kavanaugh, that he would be a swing vote. But oh no, see, he really kind of fell off the deep end. So we were very grateful to get rid of him. And now, you know, we have 2 Republican senators. And I think probably will stay that way as long as Trump's in office, because we went Trump. As you can see, we went red. So Pete's not going to have much choice of being anything here. However, just like Casey said, it's very possible that he may end up being something in the administration if Trump would happen to lose, which I don't foresee happening. Of course, I mean, things would have to change immensely, but I think with what's on our near horizon, when some of those things start being unsealed, I think things are going to change drastically, and it's not going to be an issue at all in 2020. Anyway, if you want to find out about topics, now this is one of the ways that I research some things. I go to this particular HandyDandy board search. And if you want to find out, now I'm not going to link to 8chan itself, but I will link to this board. The Anons have asked not to link to their board, although not everybody feels that way, and a lot of people do link to it. And, you know, I can go along with that. It's a research board. They really do want to keep on topic. They want to do their research. And sometimes when you get people on there that don't understand the 8chan culture, it can cause a lot of delays, a lot of chatter, fills up the boards pretty fast, and then they don't get their information that they need to get out and to do their digging. So I understand that, but, you know, I'm not going to link to that, but I will link to this. I will put this down below so you can see it and you can use it if you want to. But look at all the things that this board search does. I mean, it accesses all of these things. You not only get the Q posts, you get all kinds of the board, you know, we're talking, look at this, 5 million posts, okay? I mean, there's a lot of posts on this research board that have gone through over the, year and a half? And this is the CBTS, which is the Calm Before the Storm board. Then this is the Storm board. So there are also some there that you can see. It accesses President Trump's tweets, resignations that they've been keeping track of, these arrests that they've been keeping track of, these that are going on. And yes, I'm avoiding saying some of these things. So this executive orders, they're keeping track of those, keeping track of these emails from WikiLeaks, all these different kinds, and some other offshore leaks database. I mean, they've got all this. Oh, and White House visitors from the archives. So you can easily put something in and it will bring it up. So this is what I got when I put in Buttigieg. So it has 35 posts on the Q research, and then it has one Podesta email from WikiLeaks, and 20 times that name has appeared in the White House visitors log from the Obama administration. That was very interesting to me when I came across that. And a big portion of them are Pete. Not all of them, but a big portion. Now, not all of these 35 are actually the same. I mean, some of them are the same. They're duplicates because they were in the notables And so every time a notable was repeated, it, on a new bread, it would put it in here. But it's kind of nice to see it highlights it in red so you can see exactly. I mean, they did a spectacular job on this search engine. Really great. It took them a while to get it, but once they did, wow. And it's pretty nice. It works real well. So if you can go through this and you can see where his name is used. Most of it is stuff that I'm kind of covering here. Usually, the Anons usually put a link to whatever information they're coming up with. That's called the sauce. And they like to make sure there's sauce. And then you can click on this and it will actually take you to the post. I'm not linking to the HAM boards, but if you click on this, you can go there. Okay? And so, yeah, I found a few things. And like I said, the Podesta email about him was nothing. Okay? It was just, it was a letter that was sent out by a guy who was running for representative in Indiana. And he just referenced Pete Buttigieg. So, but this was kind of interesting because there were lots of times. Now, see, not all of them were him, but wow, this is not a common name, wouldn't you say? Oh, and you know what that name means? I came across this. I wanted to find out what the name meant, and so I went here, and I'm not sure I agree with this. Buttigieg. Okay, well, anyway, it's better than Edge. That one I couldn't figure out. But anyway, look at what this means. Okay, first of all, his father's from Malta, so his name is Maltese, and it means owner of the chickens. Oh, that kind of tickled me when I saw it. Owner of the chickens or Lord of the chickens. And so he's Lord of the chickens. Oh, I'm sure it meant, like it says here, probably somebody was, big wig with poultry, but yes, Lord of the chickens. That is it. And it's probably derived from the Arabic. So, Lord of the chickens. So, Chicken Man, let's find. That's what it says. Anyway, but as for the things here, you can see there's lots of people, and it was kind of interesting. But here's Peter. Peter M. And here's the time. Now, I don't know. I'm pretty sure I don't know what his middle name was, if it's M or P or what. This one, he visited POTUS. Do you see that? Yeah. So, kind of interesting that he spent some time. I don't know. Maybe he had 2 middle names, I think, maybe. Back here. Yeah, he has 2. Peter Paul Montgomery Buttigieg. What a name. Oh, so anyway, I wanted to show that to you because I thought that was an interesting connection. And who knows? Here visited POTUS again, Peter Paul. I don't know who these other Buttigiegs are. But it can't be a common name. It really just can't be. Anyway, so I thought I would mention that, there were 20 visitors to the Obama White House. And they were, they were Buttigiegs. I guess that's the plural of it. But Buttigieg has had some problems. And one of them has to do with these police tapes. There were some tapes that were discovered about their police in South Bend. And I'm not sure it actually came out what was really on them. Now, there were a lot of rumors about what was on them. And one of them was that there were racial comments on there about one of the officers and everything. But I'm not sure that has ever come out. The FBI stepped in on that. And so I don't think it's come to a conclusion yet. And a lot of it, there were innuendos and things. Some implied that there was, material that could be used for blackmail of some officials on there. But I'm not sure anybody really knows what was on those tapes, except, of course, maybe the person that did them, person or persons. And so it was a big deal for a while, and then it kind of got swept under the rug. And it's still ongoing, and so I don't know what the situation is. The FBI, they don't talk about their ongoing investigations, so... And Pence, of course, we know that he was not happy with Pence because Pence stood against gay marriage. And immigration raid rumor, there was a time when he was, the immigrants in South Bend were asking if there was going to be an ICE raid. And he said he would find out and let them know. And there wasn't. And, there wasn't going to be one. He didn't have to tell them or anything, but they closed their shops anyway and made a big deal out of it. But it was like, he would have supported these immigrants against, and of course, the only immigrants that are really worried about ICE are illegals, right? So he would have stood with the illegals against the United States government and our ICE officers. And here's his book, because, all politicians have to write a book, I guess. And you got to wonder who the ghostwriter is, because very few people that are famous like this, they don't write their own books. So, anyway, and this is from the South Bend Tribune, which is the main paper in South Bend. And it is left-leaning, so just to give you a heads up on that. But here is something very surprising that I found out about him. That, guess what? He's buddy-buddy with good old Mark Zuckerberg. Yeah, Facebook's Mark Zuckerberg makes a surprise stop in South Bend, drives around with Mayor Pete. And like I said, they like to call him Mayor Pete so they don't have to say his name. And that was April 30th, 2017 that went on. And, yep, there they are. And down here we have a link. You can see videos that Zuckerberg had 2 live Facebook videos from the car as they were driving around. So you can watch those if you want. Yeah, it's just, yeah, so he's good friends with Mark Zuckerberg. And with all of his background, there's also a possible connection. I haven't really found the family connection exactly, but I'm not real good on genealogies, I guess. But there was a pretty high up official in Malta whose last name was Buttigieg. So I don't know if they were connected or not. I don't know if that was part of his family. I mean, it's been a few years back and everything, so could very well be. I don't know if they're related or not, but I did find something about that. So this is the situation we're in. This is the guy, and if he's buddy-buddy with Mark Zuckerberg, you gotta wonder, how deep into the deep state is he? He went to Harvard. Was he involved in Skull and Bones? Don't know. He was a Rhodes Scholar. He did a lot of these things that you have to wonder. Oh, he was in military intelligence, the Navy military intelligence. So, is he controlled? Is he somebody that will play along and do whatever the deep state wants him to do? I don't know. And right now, I do think he's being played by the media, because I think they want to use him to sensationalize things, to try to stir up problems with Pence, because frankly, he shouldn't be even talking about Pence. If he wants to become president, if he wants to be the presidential candidate, he should be talking about Trump, not Pence. Pence is not the person he's going after. So I just think that he needs to, if he's going to do this, he really needs to step up his game. But I don't think it's going to work, because I think he's being used as a pawn right now. And so, anyway, that's what I've got for you tonight. That is Pete Buttigieg. And I wanted to give you the information. I haven't finished digging on him. I'm going to kind of keep doing that, but he wasn't a horrible mayor, but he is definitely a Democrat, and he's definitely working towards the socialist agenda, like AOC and the others that are pushing the Green New Deal and things like that. So yes, he is part of that. His whole goal was to make the Democrat Party give it a fresh face, to make it different and youthful and energize it that way. And that's really why he wanted to be the head of the DNC. And then also now he wants to run for president. So again, I don't think he's going to make it to the main stage, when they whittle down a lot of these candidates. But I do think that he probably will get some place in a Democratic administration if, and that's a huge if, that would happen to occur in 2020. I don't think it will. Okay, I'm really pretty sure it won't. But just on the outside chance that it would, he probably would be appointed. He's making friends. He really is. And that's a big part of getting somewhere in politics these days. It's called good old American know-who. Yeah. So that's what he's doing. And he is kind of a likable guy, which makes it, he has a good personality, better than just about anybody else that they've got right now. And so that's a possibility. Plus, he's their token gay. So that is, a possibility too for why they want to put him in there. Who knows? Maybe they'll run him as the vice presidential candidate or something. Maybe that's why he's attacking Pence so much. Could be. But I wanted to put that out there, let you know a little bit about this guy. I think he's an up-and-comer in some ways, but I just think he's got so far to go that he's not going to make it, at least for 2020. He's got a lot further to go than that, and that's just not going to work because they've got too many high-profile people that are already pushing it. So, I don't know. But whichever one, I look over the list of the people, and it's like, no, it doesn't matter which one goes up against Trump. It's going to be fun. And who knows how many of them will still be walking around free by then. So anyway, that's what I've got for you tonight. And I want to thank you for stopping by. And I'll see y'all later.